everybody, happy Halloween! So, out of nowhere, I'm doing a review video again. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and it ended up taking me into this super crazy wormhole of things. So, a few weeks ago, I bought Strange Telephone for the Switch because it was on sale, and with my saved up Switch points, I could get the game for free. So, Strange Telephone. That game's pretty much a total disaster. Now, I played through it start to finish in slightly less than 3 hours, and the concept of the game is that you enter random numbers into this random telephone, which takes you to a random world that you can explore for about 3 minutes, and then you get kicked out and you have to enter another random number into another random phone to go to another random area. And the game is completely hinging on the fact that either you do or you don't consider entering a bunch of random numbers into a calculator to be fun. Now, as you drift around from world to world, you come across a bunch of random things that cause random different effects, but there's not really a clear logic to what things do. So I assume the designer of this game just wanted to sit here for hours and try to torture you to use every possible thing on every possible other thing. Yeah, fuck that. I mean, I like adventure games, but I expect a bare minimal structure to a game, and this game just expects you to fly by the seat of your pants and figure out literally everything via trial and error. And then on top of that, I thought the game was free enough that if you found a level with some stuff and then you took that to another level, it would work. But because the game has so many multiple dimensions and different possibilities of numbers, I never got a clear answer about whether or not I had to be in a specific level to actually beat the game. Because it seems like there are very specific combinations of numbers you need to actually finish the game. But I wasn't sure, because I just got pissed off with this game and kind of beat it using a guide. It just pissed me off so much because everything was just full-on trial and error, and then just mixed with making shit up. And the only good thing I can say about this game is that if you do manage to finish it, you get a bunch of different, really beautiful pixel art endings, which seem to imply either you were in another dimension or a nightmare, or this was the personal hell of Alexander Graham Bell. Strange Telephone gets my lowest rating, a 1 out of 10. Do not buy this game. I cannot stress how much garbage this game is. It looked really nice and it looked really cool, but it's just not fun at all. Anyway, since I beat this garbage game in 3 hours, I had to look into what the hell the deal with it was. And the overall popular consensus online is that this game is just a ripoff of a more popular game called Yume Nikki. Now, originally, Yume Nikki was apparently this cult classic game that apparently came out in 2003. And it was apparently so groundbreaking that a few years back, a full HD remake of it came out on the Switch. So with absolutely nothing better to do, I rushed out and bought the HD remake. And then I didn't play it for a couple of months. But because yesterday was Halloween, and since I couldn't go outside for Halloween, I wanted to do something creepy. So I decided to play Yume Nikki. And once I booted up this game, it instantly dawned on me that this is the game where the Puke Girl meme comes from. I've been seeing this fucking meme since high school. And okay, I see you, Puke Girl. Now I finally know where you're from. Now, apparently the meme has been out as long as the game did. And little did I know that there was a super very good reason for that. Because she's Puke Girl. And because this game never gives me the name of anything or tells me what anything is, I'm just going to keep calling her Puke Girl because she's always been Puke Girl to me. So anyway, Yume Nikki on the Switch. Weird experience. I could best describe it as The Legend of Zelda, or a game that kind of plays like it, except it's a horror survival platformer and the bad guy seems to be Slender Man. Now, you got some weird David Lynch stuff here, like some creepypasta tropes, and overall, it's just a really, really interesting but confusing experience. Gameplay-wise, it's a cool but seriously, seriously flawed game. Now, the best way I can describe it is, again, it's a side-scroller, but it's thematically a huge ripoff of the original Legend of Zelda on NES. But imagine Zelda on NES, and now imagine that when you first start the game, instead of there being a cave with a sword being the first thing you see, you instead have immediate access to every single dungeon in the game, despite the massive increase in difficulty with the later dungeons, and you don't get the sword until the middle of the third dungeon. That's Yume Nikki. And then on top of that, since you don't have the sword until the third dungeon, the game gives you this fake horror survival tone just because the gameplay itself is broken and you have no effective way of stopping the game's weak-ass grunt enemies. Now, in this analogy, the sword is the umbrella, because once you get the umbrella, everything in this game changes. You can effectively platform properly, you can avoid enemies, you can finish most of the levels easy peasy. Anything the game throws at you, once you have the umbrella, you're ready to handle it. But for like the first 6 hours until you do, you are so painfully crippled. Oh, and also at one point very early in the game, they give you a butcher's knife. And at first I got it and I thought, oh, thank God, now I can defend myself from the monsters. But the knife is fucking useless. You can only use the knife to kill one enemy for drama. And most of the other grunt enemies are completely invincible until like near the end of the game, you get this scary mask, which randomly gives you the ability to scare the enemies to death. Okay, law, scary game, gonna scare everybody, ooh, Halloween. So on top of that, one of the first and most important items in the game is like this rosary, and I literally passed the place where it was hiding like at least 6 times until I looked in a guide and I had someone point it out to me. Like, by and large, the puzzles in this game are either okay, you can figure them out, or they make no logical sense. Like, there was this other puzzle where I had to put like 4 blocks into 4 holes, and I couldn't figure the rhyme or reason for that one, so I just solved it by putting down the blocks randomly. Now, there were 2 horrible fucking puzzles that full-on broke me, and I had to like look up how to solve them. The first one was, again, because this game is such a ripoff of the original Zelda, and it plays all the same cards as the original Zelda, there's a fucking full ripoff of the original Zelda Lost Woods puzzle, and I could not figure out anything in the game that would tell me the solution for this puzzle. Because, you know, in Zelda, like, there was like an old man who told you like the way to go, or you could like look in Nintendo Power and that would tell you how to go. So I just had to look on a YouTube video and follow very specific instructions for how to navigate this thing. And then the last thing that tripped me up, the last puzzle in the game, you find some weird Yoko Ono lady and she's like playing a piano. And prior to this, there have been music puzzles, and every previous music puzzle had an NPC who played some music, and then you just copied the music on your ocarina. But, and mind you, I was stuck here for an hour trying to figure out what the hell the deal was with this last one. This last NPC plays a pattern of notes, and then instead of copying the notes, they actually expect you to finish out the pattern they are playing. And that turned out to be a total fucking nightmare because I was here button mashing forever. I actually learned the full song, which you didn't need to. I tried a bunch of different combos, but apparently because you have to finish the pattern, which no one fucking tells you, you have to finish the pattern right after you talk to the NPC, and yeah, it was so vague, it was so frustrating, and the only way I got through this was by combing the internet for like 2 hours until I found like an old message board post complaining about the same puzzle and how like no one who like didn't have like a degree in music or was like a music major would like be able to solve that puzzle on their own, because it utterly breaks the precedent that all the other music puzzles in the game follow. Now let's move on to the story of the game. And I really need to try and sit here a second and interpret what the fuck the story of this game actually was. That's gonna be a little fun. Now, the Switch game, it took such a hands-off approach to the story, and everything was just shown and not told, so here goes nothing. Yume Nikki Dream Diary is the story of Puke-chan, who lives inside her COVID quarantined apartment in the year 2020, and she cannot go to sleep because every night when she goes to sleep, she is mentally disturbed from her isolation, and she wakes up in this ethereal version of her apartment that connects to this dream hub world, which represents her psyche. And the psyche hub world takes her to this random mix of reoccurring dreams and nightmares that she has every night. And then there's like all these different dream worlds which are vaguely inspired by the places a Japanese teen girl would have like gone to, like her school, the mall, the ocean, a city. And so she goes into these nightmare worlds and she interacts with them like it's The Legend of Zelda. And then usually the dreams end where if you think you entered the wrong dream and you don't have the right gear to finish the dream, then at any time you can choose to puke inside the dream, and that wakes you up. But most of the dreams, if you have the right gear and you can play them to completion and finish them, then most of them just end in these horrible creepypasta endings. Including this one dream that I want to say is the dream of someone who watched way too many episodes of old Doctor Who. So anyway, I really need to think about what this fucking game was actually about. Because the main antagonist of the dream was fucking Slender Man. And he showed up in a bunch of different levels to chase me. There was also this one time where he was nice to me and I fed him a fish. And I met all these different girls. At least 2 of them were dead. There was this other girl who was like alive, but she was ignoring me. And if I tried to make her pay attention to me, then she turned into a monster. And then there was this other girl who just didn't want to talk to me, and that was like depressing. And I mean, it wasn't all horror and Slender Man though. Like there were these like cool, like fun dreamscape moments where all of a sudden everything got all positive and it suddenly felt like a vaporwave music video. But I mean, like the biggest hint at like what this game actually was and the story was that there was one point in the game where I found this haunted house and I couldn't go inside the haunted house, but when I banged on the door, it gave me this NES cartridge. And when I took the NES cartridge home, or rather to my dream home, I played it, and it was this crappy game called Ao Oni, which translates to Blue Ogre in English. And in that game, you go inside the haunted house that you previously couldn't enter in the dream, and you have to save as many as your friends as possible before the ogre kills them, and then get a key to escape. And it's very repetitive, but this is the only point at the game where there was any text telling me any hint at what the plot of the game. So maybe the real game was also about a girl trying to save her friends? Or maybe that's just me sugarcoating it too much, because just letting my brain run wild now, if I think this game was like a typical Japanese character study kind of thing, like a lot of indie Japanese movies are, then it felt like every one of the dreams and nightmares was related to a relationship that Puke Girl had with another girl she used to know. And I don't think I mean that in a way that like Puke Girl was a lesbian or something like that. She seems very well-mannered and non-sexual, but Puke Girl kept seeing these dead girls. So maybe these girls were dead in the dreams, or maybe they weren't actually dead and they were just girls that Puke Girl had like bad, hostile, overall negative relationships with. And considering that there were these other girls who were clearly alive and well, maybe those dreams were representing the girls who are still friendly with Puke Girl, or this was all like a psychological thing where she was like worried about her overall relationship with them, or like the damage that her isolation is causing to her friendships. And I mean, honestly, I've been having similar thoughts along those lines myself, because I've been trapped inside my apartment myself for the past year due to COVID-19. And I've been thinking, you know, I've been trying to reach out to people since the pandemic started because I just haven't been getting outside. I haven't been socializing, and since I can't really see any of my old friends. But I also recently moved to New York, and I don't really see a lot of people on the same level that I used to. But then again, the people in my hometown, if I'm being really honest, were shitty fucking drug addicts. And I moved away from most of them decades ago because, like, they were just awful, awful people. But then I often do have dreams and nightmares along these same lines where I have to kind of reanalyze my old friendships, and I have to think like, am I still friends with this person? Did I do something to drive this person away from me? Is this person even still alive? And if they're not alive, then I've got a lot to consider right now because, man oh man, the passage of time just sucks. Anyway, fuck Yume Nikki. But moving back to that, so despite all the antics and the Asian ghosts and all the other bullshit this game is putting you through, when you finally escape from Slender Man and have this like final dramatic confrontation, you're moved on to this final challenging area of the game, which is like this 1960s style loft where you have to like help solve Yoko Ono to play the piano, and then the game just fucking ends, and it's like, what the random hell? What is its ending? Like, what? What? So, Yume Nikki Dream Diary on the Switch gets a 6 out of 10 because it's a great atmospheric horror game, and it has a great mix of traditional and psychological horror tropes going on. And the game plays a lot like Zelda as a side-scroller, but it's very satisfying when it works. Except there are too many places where you can just get stuck because nothing in the game is explained, and there's still a lot you have to interpret and figure out on your own. So anyway, I checked out what else was available in this franchise after I beat the game, because apparently, even though I thought this game was interesting, overall, fans of the original game hate this one. Because apparently the original game was like a survival horror version of Earthbound? What the fuck is that? That's a thing? And so, looking into the details, a lot of the fun things from the original game just didn't translate or carry over into the remake, because the remake was trying to just be like more of a David Lynch Japanese horror movie. And there's apparently also a manga which tells you straight out exactly what the game story is supposed to be. But fuck that. That's not fun. So anyway, that's my review of Yume Nikki the Dream Diary. And now that I've played both a game loosely inspired by the original Yume Nikki and a direct reinterpretation of it, I mean, this remake was cool enough that I am willing to check out the original, because I'm kind of baffled how you get this from this. Although it's currently only available on Steam, and I do not have a Steam account to play it on. So I'm gonna have to figure out some kind of cool workaround so I can play it. I think if I really like put my mind to it, I could maybe get it running on some old homebrew system like my Wii or my PSP. So that's a low priority goal, but that's also something I might get around to doing next year. Anyway, yeah, so that's the first review video I've done in a while. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know if I should review other indie games. I would like to do some more stuff with my channel than just playing Gundam Breaker every week, so yeah. Thank you guys, please subscribe, and be out. Peace.